Okay. Well, hello and welcome. And we're so glad that you are here on our soft launch for Soularize. My name is Spencer Burke. And if you look over in the corner there, at least in my corner, you got Shayna Metzner, who is also a co-producer of the event. And you look up in the other corner, at least on mine, you see Dr. Paula Ferris, who is going to be the host for our event in Fullerton. But we're also going to be virtual, and we'll get into that in a moment. The quick outline of what we're going to be doing is we're going to be walking through the idea of why Soularize. Then we're going to be talking about the theme of humane spirituality. Then we want to kind of give you a quick preview of an explainer video. Hopefully it does a little bit of that. And then we're going to be talking about pitches and villages, which is really what the event is kind of built around. Then at the end, we're going to be doing Q&A. And we invite you to help us build out our FAQ session, and that's going to be with your Q&As. You can interrupt at any time, especially if there's a clarification. But also, if you think it's a general question, you could save it towards the end because part of it might actually answer some of it as we move forward. Okay, kind of looking for a thumbs up on that as we move forward. All right. We build the whole reason why we do this is to build relationships. So I don't think we have time for everyone, but I know we've got enough time for maybe 10 people. And so if you wanted to kind of just say your name, where you're located, and maybe why you're on the call, I'm talking 60 seconds, but it's relational. I want you guys to, because so many of these faces are so familiar to me, but I want you guys to know each other a little bit as well, because that's the whole idea of Soularize. So go ahead and just kind of unmute, and we'll kind of take 10 minutes, and how many we can get it done in that time, we'll go with it. So who wants to go first? Just kind of name, location, and your thoughts while you're here. Yeah, Shayna, go ahead.
I'll go first. So, hey, I'm Shayna. I live in Ventura, California, and I worked with Spencer Burke during the second Soularize. Can't remember where we were at, but I was a brand new Christian, and I thought, okay, this is some crazy stuff. And ultimately, I felt so happy that I got to meet him and meet so many amazing people. I'm not a huge reader, but I got to meet so many artists and so many authors and so many thought leaders that it really informed my brand new path as a follower of Jesus, and opened up doors that I just didn't think would be a part of my walk. And I'm so glad that he hit me up a few months ago and said, hey, we're getting the band back together. And so I was like, what a better time than now. I mean, we're like emerging from this craziness. Like, let's hear where people are at. So thanks for joining.
Cool. I'll jump in real quick. My name's Keith Giles. I met Spencer back when he was doing this thing called the Ooze, which is a website during this way back in the dark ages when there was this thing called the Emerging Church. And so I followed Spencer. I've known him ever since. We used to live in Southern California together. I now live in El Paso, Texas, with my wife, Wendy. And I'm an author, write books about deconstruction and reconstruction. I'm also a podcast host for the Heretic Happy Hour, and also a new one called Peace Catalyst, which works to bring Muslims and Christians together. And I just love Spencer. I've always said this. Spencer's one of the few people I know that I can legitimately say I think he's a genius, and I think he sees over the horizon from years ahead. And so because of that, anytime Spencer is doing anything, I'd like to be sitting there as a fly on the wall. So that's why I'm here.
I'll go.
Go ahead.
Are you sure? All right, well, my name's Becky, and Becky Pearson, and I am currently in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I guess, Spencer, I met you as well, or at least knew of you through the Ooze, and then we met later through the Emerging Church stuff. I was at the time, I was the cohort leader for Colorado, and just really got involved there. But I'm on because, yeah, we're at another shift and transition, and we need to. And I actually I've been a United Methodist clergy for several years. I grew up in the church, and because of some serious disagreements and with their dysfunction right now, I literally just turned in, I guess you could say, resigned, withdrew my credentials from them, and have shifted to a new denomination called the Convergent Christian Communion. I don't know if anybody's heard of them, but they are fantastic, and I will make sure they're involved. But so I have seen the writing on the wall, but there's a lot that needs to change, and I really would like to be a part of all this.
I am Leighton Tabay. I'm from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Was back in the emerging church days, something of a blogger, and probably better known as Jordan Cooper's sidekick than some of the tech brains behind it. And him and I were two of the, well, more him than me, but we were both partners in starting Resonate in Canada, which was a vehicle for the emerging church conversation north of the border. I don't know that I've never been to actual Soularize, the old ones. Coop used to regale me with tales of ooze and booze and cruise, and I felt like I missed out, and I didn't want to miss out on this one, so that's why I'm here.
I'll introduce myself. Hi everyone, I'm Eugene, and I've known Spencer and about Soularize for all of 3 days. And a friend of mine passed along some information about it, and I was very intrigued about it. I've been a pastor for many years, and I left my role in my church about a year ago, right before the pandemic. Shut everything down, and I started a nonprofit called New Wine Collective. And I'm really interested in rethinking, reimagining church and ecclesiology from the ground up. And so our organization is working on an online platform that's going to hopefully help a lot of people just create their own spiritual community wherever they are. So that's a little bit about me.
I'll jump in. My name is Mellon Kennedy, and I'm tuning in from Lincoln, Vermont. And I think, Spencer, we met in Chicago at that thingy that was done about the reimagining theological education, which was fabulous. And I've started. I have dual ordination. I'm a Sufi minister. I'm also a Unitarian Universalist. Although, like you, Becky, I'm about to let go of that because of all the bullshit there. To be quite frank with you, the UUs are spiritually bankrupt. Anyway, that's a different subject. I have started a new endeavor, which I'm calling a spiritual makerspace, which is to welcome young creative people in. God is downloading big time with the young folk right now, and they need to be given a platform and the freedom. So I serve a UU church, and once a month we have a spiritual makerspace. We have one this Sunday. It's on psychedelics. So come if you want to see something wild. And because there's lots of research on the positive health benefits of psychedelics. So we bring in once a month some younger person who throw out the order of service, the program, let them do what they need to do, let them bring God's message through in the authentic way that is right for them. It has brought new members into the church. It's brought new energy. It's very exciting. And we're also doing workshops. I did a Sacred Art of Storytelling workshop, and then someone in June is doing a workshop on soulful marketing. So my hope is it'll keep evolving. Spiritual makerspace. Thank you.
Happy to chat. My name is Jim Robertson from Edmonton, Alberta. I used to follow Spencer through the Ooze, or follow the Ooze and Spencer, and did experience Soularize. 2011, I came down and did a workshop on using tactile mantras in contemplation in San Diego. Loved it. And so when I saw this was going on, I was eager to learn what's next. My vocation, criminal lawyer by day, and then at night I create liturgy, spiritual formation exercises, work heavily in theopoetics and spiritual formation exercises with a lot of art, ritual, and well, we've had more sermons danced than preached at my events.
I'll go. My name is Rick Diamond. I live in Santa Fe. I lived for 20 years in Austin. I was a Methodist pastor and then was given the loving left foot of fellowship. Hallelujah. Blessed be the name. And then I was a megachurch
I
pastor
know the
for,
feeling.
bless you. And then I was a megachurch pastor for 3 years and couldn't take it anymore and started a strange emergent whatever church, partly because of Soularize and the ooze and other cross-pollination. And I am retiring from 17 years there in a week and a half. So I'm excited. I am also working with the online seminary called Northwind. I'm teaching about weird church. Like that's my, I don't know what it's called. That's my gig. And I'm starting in about a month, I'm starting a podcast called Rick and Jesus Knock Shit Over. And I'm really glad to see this coming back and doing its thing. And I was at early Soularize. God, where were we? Seattle? I don't know, man. Somewhere. Trippy. It was great. So I'm here to support and see what can happen. Glad to be here.
Hi, I'm Sean Whitty. I'm in Boston. Been a Spencer and Ooze and Soularize lurker for decades and a lot of mutual friends. And so I'm glad to sit in on the activities. Nice to meet everyone.
Hey, I'm Chad Farrand in Orlando, Florida. I am a Reformed pastor. I'm working with churches all over Latin America from down here and connected with Spencer in the early 2000s, was part of the Ooze, love Soularize, and anything that Spencer does, I'm in. So that's why I'm here.
Go on, I'll go next. Oh, yeah.
I'm Chris. I'm from Virginia, and I've been, I guess, a lurker of Spencer's for years. Used to read everything that he put up on the Ooze, and I'm just excited to see what the Lord is going to do through his church as he wakes everybody up to living the faith and not just practicing it on Sunday morning.
Yes, I'll go next. I was just laughing at when Chad, you said you were a Reformed pastor. I thought you used to be a pastor, but now you're Reformed. Yes, so I'm David, and I'm part of a leadership community of Inclusive Gathering, which is a wonderful spiritual community with both straight and gay, cisgender and transgender and people and neurotypical and neurodiverse people. And I'm also running an enterprise, particularly with neurodiverse people that are largely on the or entirely on the autistic spectrum. And they at the moment are working on something with a production company, writing writing poems and talking about their life and things like that, to produce some sort of, I think there'll all be individual presentations because they're all very individual and different. But that came from, it was just a year ago when I was thinking about that I met up with Spencer and we had a chat about that, didn't we? Okay.
Okay, guys, I think we have time for one more daring soul. All right, then. Guess we got everybody who wanted to speak.
That is great. Thank you, Shayna. That is so fun. Well, and from my perspective, I've kind of come full circle where, I left the mega church back in '98. And then about 10 years ago, I reconnected with the denominational world and literally, believe it or not, ordained as a Disciples of Christ minister and spent 7 years as a minister of innovation for the Pacific Southwest region. here in Southern California. And just recently in the last year have connected up with a United Methodist Church in Fullerton with Pastor Paula. And it's basically a place where she and I are working as a laboratory and trying and testing so many of these ideas. But I'm loving that it's kind of gone full circle. It was like, this huge playground, but now being able to really boots on the ground with real people ask, will it work? And I'm also doing a little initiative called Lean Faith, which is helping launch Love into Action, which is utilizing kind of lean methodology, human-centered design, U theory, in trying to create a canvas, a way in which people can start to launch, integrating the best business tools and contextualizing and adapting them. So, and I'm using that principle now with this, which again, it's not like, hey, it's a great idea of mine, let's go do it. It's like number of conversations even before this. And now where does it go? So we've got some things we want to test with you today, and then hopefully invite you in to think about it, look at it, test it, play with it, and help us know, where we can move before we try to do a hard launch actually on June 1st is what we're hoping. So let's see here. Okay. Let me move into the first. I got 5 sections actually, real quick. And the first one is why Soularize and why now? We've done 7 different Soularizes from Seattle, Minneapolis, Boston, the Bahamas. We've swam with sharks. We've bobbed in the water. We've done a Native American potlatch with 30 Native American tribes. We've rented the EMP and done a spiritual film festival. I mean, you kind of name it. We've tried to play with it in one way or another, but it's always come from everybody who's participated. In fact, I remember way back when I did it in Seattle 20 years ago. And, there was no security guards, there was no staff, and I was trying to fill the bags, with all the stuff, and everybody's kind of waiting out front. I'm like, well, come on in and help. It's like, everybody who paid are the people who were the staff, I actually even remember in 2001, it was just less than 30 days after the 9/11. And only one person asked for a refund and wouldn't get on a plane. It was amazing. And it was pre the judging of, who done it, who was wrong, who was mean. It was in a real understanding time. And it was so powerful to have the student union over at UW, University of Washington, have their student Muslim community come over and kind of share from their perspective with us. I remember that Rita Brock, who was one of the music persons, got stuck in Colorado because there was all these new TSA rules. Remember 20 years ago, we didn't really have that, right? And she got stuck and couldn't get out for the opening session. And so we basically said, I was sitting next to Father Rohr, who hadn't been to an evangelical event, whatever. And all of a sudden I just take off and I take a trash can and I dump it out because we had a world-class djembe player with us, and I just gave it to him and he went and just started a rhythm, And all of a sudden, Sean Diamond had his Native American flute and came up and started with that. And then there was a group called Water Deep, and they were there, but didn't want to play. They were just there, And all of a sudden, like, well, okay. And we got on the microphone and said, does anybody have a guitar, And so then they came in, and all of a sudden kind of the band just happened with a trash can, like it was that kind of spirit. And I hope that's the feel and the ethos that we continue to move forward. No green rooms, no celebrities, just straight up kind of be together and share. Then so it's always been a pop-up event. And it's only been popping up when we needed it. And it, for whatever reason, it feels like now is such a time. There is a number of reasons, but 2 really parts of my passion are people and technology. And when those meet up to meet the moment, I love that. So really it feels, just listen to you guys, I'm just like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, right now, we could just do workshops right here and it'd be just amazing. You know, we don't need anything else. This is it, you know, but there's so much more that could happen. And together, I think we can make that happen. And so also technology has happened. And I'll share a little bit more about how that has merged together. The other part that I have realized looking past over the past 20 years is, have you ever seen the innovation curve, right? It kind of goes like this, and then it bell curves over and then down again, right? So at the early part of it is the early innovators and the spiritual innovators, and then the early adopters. And then you get into the late adopters and laggers, right? And there's Crossing the Chasm is one of the books on it and everything else. Well, that's 16% of the population. The early innovators and the spiritual innovators and the early adopters are the people who we're really looking for. So we're not trying to make this a big event. We're really trying to create a safe space for people who are in that location, in that space, that want to build relationships. You know, just like in the early days, most of the books started as a workshop. Most of the initiatives started as a luncheon, you know, out in the middle of somewhere, you know, like at Soularize. So that's what we're hoping we can continue in that tradition, build on that. The theme this year is humane spirituality. And now it's just something we kind of made up. But again, I think all things, you know, everything starts as a heresy, right? Not all heresies become orthodoxy, but orthodoxy is found by testing it. So this may be completely heretical. I don't know. In fact, I wrote a book, you know, on Heretic's Guide to Eternity, you know what I mean? And some of that stuff actually stuck, you know, which I'm pretty happy about. But so with this, I hope it sticks. But this is the main idea behind it, is that my working definition right now is humane spirituality helps restore human dignity to both the oppressed and the oppressor. So the difference between social entrepreneurism is they do try to restore human dignity to the oppressed, but spiritual entrepreneurism or spiritual innovation starts to integrate, how do we restore human dignity for the oppressor as well? I need to realize I have a part in it, right? Especially as a white male, North American, you know, evangelical is my roots. You know what I mean? Like, I have all the privilege in the world, and most of the ills of the world probably can be tied back somehow to me, you know? And so I don't have to just work on freeing other people. I need to stop and say, how am I part of the issue so I can be part of the solution as well? So it's both for the oppressed and the oppressor. And it's working on the idea of restoring human dignity. Why human dignity? Well, this is where I'm coming up with it, is that I believe right now, and especially in the last few years with Christianity, the idea of sin, first of all, I don't know if I buy into the whole idea of sin and everything else, but let's just take it for worth, right? That there are things that aren't good and some things that aren't, that are good, right? That we can all agree to, and some things we can't do. But I was listening to the Christian church here in North America argue about sin. So you could take the idea of, let's say, separating families at the border, right? You'd hear one Christian group say, we've got to do that because it creates a deterrent, and God doesn't want people, you know, cutting the line and whatever, you know. And then you'd hear another group say, but kids in cages, and, you know, and they just felt like two really strong, two ends of the same continuum that just felt argumentative, where I wanted to ask, wait a minute, what's humane? You know what I mean? What at the center of that is wrong? You know, what can we solve there? Not try to pitch each other as good or bad. And you could come down to the part of saying, you know what, ultimately, being humane or being inhumane, kids in cages or separating families and the psychological trauma and trouble that causes is inhumane. Well, for me, I'd call that sin, right? You know, and not doing that, I'd call good. You know, so restoring human dignity is a place where I think we can all agree from any faith standard and saying, okay, we want to restore human dignity to both the oppressed and the oppressor. And so move beyond the conversation of whether it's sin, good, evil, right, wrong, right, left, conservative, political, progressive. See, lose all that stuff. Let's simply get down to the sense of, as spiritual innovators, how are we restoring human dignity to both the oppressed and the oppressor? And in that sense, it really is a place where I think we all glow and go, that makes sense. I have a little saying now I'm playing with, and I'm saying, perhaps in trying to be godly, we've forgotten what it means to be human. And, I could take 1,000 days and go into the whole idea of who, did Christ in the kenosis, like, did he empty himself? Like, what did that mean? Was he really even trying to be God here? Or was he trying to be fully human here? I don't know where all that goes. But for me, if I could be truly human and humane, I think I become godly. I think in some ways I lose myself when I try to be godly and become inhumane. So I don't know if that works, but let me move on. But that's our theme. So now I would like to show you an explainer video, and we hope it explains fairly well. Yeah, okay. So Steve Thompson is just an amazing animator. He animated for us when we were in Venice Beach, and he did another stick figure game. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to look for you to make sure that the audio is going. The music we picked, who knows if if it works out well, but we can play with this. All right. But let me go ahead and share my screen. Let's see here. Okay. And which is it? It's this one. Let me get over to this one. All right. And tell me if you'll be able to hear this in just a moment. Do you consider yourself a spiritual innovator, an artist, an activist, a change agent, an entrepreneur, a church leader?
Can you turn it up?
Are you too curious, or are
We lost you, Spencer.
Yeah, there's no audio at all.
Okay, let me check here. Let's see. Did I do something wrong? Oh, you know what? It's because my microphone's on. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the microphone at the speaker, I guess. That's kind of silly, but let me try that. Sorry.
Good idea.
Yeah, I'll go back. Yeah. And we'll have this on the website, soularize.live. So you'll be able to see that later today.
But we definitely want feedback because we want to make sure that this is explaining it. We think it explains it, but we want you to know, if you think it explains it.
Yeah. Okay. It's 2 minutes. Here we go. Tell me if you can hear it. Do you consider yourself a spiritual innovator, an artist, an activist, a change agent, an entrepreneur, a church leader, or a visionary educator? Are you too curious, or are your ideas too bold for the institutions or communities you serve? Are you looking to connect with other change makers? Did you know you're not the only crazy one out there? In fact, we are all getting together for Soularize, a global hybrid learning mode. You can join us in Los Angeles, or from your phone, or a home computer. You can create your own local event. No matter how you connect, the Soularize app helps create community and unleash collaboration. You can contribute from anywhere in the world. Do you have a pitch to practice, art to showcase, an idea to workshop? Soularize brings together like-minded people and new voices from the fringe to engage. As we explore the theme of humane spirituality and how we can restore human dignity to both the oppressed and the oppressor. Most conferences have 3 days of content and connection, and then it's over. Let's flip the script. On June 1st, the party begins in the app. Start building relationships by submitting your startup pitches, workshops, art, music, poetry, short films, and more. Preview workshops, engage presenters, and upvote your favorite topics. The live global gathering becomes a celebration of all the ideas and friendships we create. So join us live on October 21st through the 23rd. You can learn more by visiting us on the web at soularize.live. All right. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I had the mic and I muted myself. Um, so that's the video, kind of an explainer, and we're going to download everything in the chat. So any thoughts, ideas, share them with each other, but also then I have a written record of any comments, thoughts, questions that you have over there. All right.
Spencer,
Thank you. Then,
there was a comment from Chris. Ideas too bold for your institution? I saw a lot of smiles.
that was fun, wasn't it? Yeah, it was great to see your faces actually. So, all right. Well, okay. Let's move in. I got just two more points and then we're going to just open it up to Q&A. All right. So, you heard that there was the idea of pitches. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, let me talk about the app. The app, here's where technology connects us to the time. Meaning that, you know, years ago with Soularize, we actually streamed from the Bahamas in 2007. One of the very first one back in 98, we didn't call it Soularize, but we had one of the first streaming deals, you know, like it was crazy. But now technology is caught up. And with the pandemic, virtual meetups have happened like crazy. So I do not want to be in the business of technology. So we have selected an app. And I don't know if you know, like, you know how we use Zoom now? It's like, hey, are we going to Zoom that call? You know, whatever. I think in the next few years, we're going to actually be talking about events saying, did you Hoover that? WHOVA. Did you Hoover that? And you can go to hoover.com. That's going to be our host. And they've got 3 million users on the platform. There are over 20,000 different virtual hybrid events that are happening. We have spent the last 2 months kind of, you know, hacking that system to try to create something that would work for us and what we're trying to do. Well, the two things that are really big with it that have kind of been our hacks are, one is a pitch gallery. And a pitch gallery is kind of what it sounds like. It's kind of pitching. You know, you think a little bit like Shark Tank. So what we're doing is we've got 3 different areas for pitches. All right. The first one is in the traditional pitching, like pitch a startup idea. I mean, a lot of you actually had some great ideas just as you were sharing, and it'd be great to, you know, get some people to do an Indiegogo or a GoFundMe campaign, or you might need an artist, or you might need a voiceover, or, you know, I don't know what a programmer. There's ways in which we can actually help each other out with that. With my work with Lean Faith, we talk about doing a minimum viable benefit, right? So it's in lean startup, it's minimum viable product, but you try to have one thing and really reduce your risk as much as possible. Within the pitches, I've kind of focused on this first one to see how it will work. The other 2 we're going to continue to do, but I've kind of built a little team with Glean out of Manhattan. They're a spiritual incubator run by a Jewish community, and also InnoFaith, Danielle. And they are helping me kind of write up the rules for this. Also, I've talked with Charles Lee from Ideation, and even Stephen Lewis from the Forum for Theological Education. And so they're giving me some input, and there'll be some judges on it, actually. But we're going to work with that and try to find out how that works best in trying to coach people on how to do a pitch, you know, all of that. But startup pitches, which you kind of know, that's the traditional kind of idea. The second one is arts. So short films, poetry, spoken word, short story, photographs, graphics. There's a whole list, about 8 that we're doing in that field. And that's going to be kind of people's choice, where people can upvote them, right? So people will pitch by putting up the video for it, the descriptions of it, They'll have interaction within the app to be able for people to have comments, and they can make it better and better and better. The power of the arts is that I think most movements start through the arts. You know what I mean? It really is the new songs that we can rally behind. It's the new imagery that can shock or inspire. You know, that's where we've got the new stories and the poetry. I don't know if you saw the inauguration, but probably the most powerful time was a man. It would like, that was just crazy good, you know? So, and it inspires. So we want to kind of try to unearth those new voices that haven't had a platform yet. And then the third one is workshops. So we don't know who the new voices are. We haven't been on the scene recently, you know. So what we're going to do is invite people to pitch their workshop idea. And then everybody will kind of comment and vote on it, go like, no, that's who I want. That's who I want. Right. And so with that, we're also going to flip the script a little bit. So at our traditional thing, remember we talked about a 3-day event and then it's over. What we're going to do is have everybody submit their work before or on by September 20th. And so that's when we'll start and have them all post. The reason why we're doing that is we want everyone to watch all of the workshops ahead of time, right? And then be playing with the presenter, like, well, what do you mean by that? And creating comments. And then the workshop leader kind of clarifies it more and more so that on the day of the event, when the workshop happens, it's not them presenting. It's maybe 5 or 10 minutes of them going, wow, you blew me away. I actually changed point 3. That was kind of silly. Like with your input, I think it's more this way. And then the whole time can be used to flip the script, right? And do Q&A with the presenter. So it's designed to actually engage with people. And then that'll be available afterwards as well. So all of this is trying to create community beforehand so that the 3-day event is really engagement in relationship with each other, right? So those are the 3 things: startups, arts, and then workshops, right? And that's in the pitch gallery. And each person has full control. They have their own back end, everything else. And so as somebody signs up, they just request a pitch. And then we make sure it's on. We're loosely holding people to the theme of humane spirituality. So we don't want pitches to be things where people are trying to make $1 million. We really want them to be thinking in terms of their interpretation of the theme. Doesn't have to be what I think. It could be their own game with it, right? Then lastly, we're looking at villages. So a lot of people are not ready to travel yet. In fact, a lot of speakers aren't ready to travel yet. So what we're doing is we're looking for some spiritual entrepreneurs who might be interested in hosting local events. They'll be all connected together through the web and the app so that a person who wants to do a local event could literally just simply do a plug and play. They can actually just stream what we've got. But a more entrepreneurial person could end up saying, wait a minute, I want to do a dinner. I want to do, a band. That's fine. Do whatever you want and charge whatever you want. We're not trying to control that at all. The pricing that we're working on is $20 for the network app, which allows anybody to access everything from their phone or their web from anywhere in the world, anytime they want. That's the individual network pass. And then a hosting pass, a village pass, for $100, and they can have the license to stream it from, or do whatever they want, as long as they stay on the theme of kind of humane spirituality. And we hope that there are people kind of all over. In fact, I was looking for Mark a little bit earlier. He's already emailed me in and said, hey, can I do New Zealand? I'm like, yeah, sure. So these are going to be happening kind of everywhere, I think. And we're not trying to control them or anything. We're really inviting people to kind of do it in the way in which they would like to do it. The other thing that's kind of fun, and the reason why the pitches and the villages could work together, is that someone who's doing a village can look at all of the art pitches and go, wow, I'm going to do a mixtape. You know, I'm going to take this music from here. I'm going to take this poetry from here because it's all streaming anyways. And then I'm going to have a local band come in or DJ and do this, and they can create their own event in any way they want based on the pitches that are there, which just, again, creates more and more excitement for that. So those are the things that I had. So really, if you kind of think about it in this way, we want people to pitch, people to host, and people to vote. Those are kind of the three ways that people can play. And then there's one other pass, and that's a local pass, and that's going to be at our gathering in Fullerton. And again, we don't know how many people will show up, but we're going to be hosting a live event. But let's say a speaker lives in Austin and they don't want to travel. We might have one of the main speakers in Austin and we'll view it streaming in LA, you know. So, and the thing that's beautiful about Fullerton, not only the churches just embrace the whole concept and the idea, but Fullerton in Old Town, right within a four block radius that we're a part of, there's like 100 different, you know, pubs and eateries and everything else. And in fact, just for the energy, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but this is where I'm at. We wanted to do a beer and hymns, and you know, Kristen Howerton does the Orange County beer and hymns. And I just texted her yesterday. She goes, "What? Let's talk." You know, like, so there's so much energy. And again, we're not going to try to control that. They'll just do it, and they'll charge, you know, $20 or whatever they do. And they give you a drink ticket, and, you know, it's like kind of their game too. So again, we'll try to figure out how this all might move together. So now either Shana, you could help with facilitating, or people just pop open. And I know this was a fire hose, but again, it's a start. But the thing that we're going to be opening up and is open right now is the app, and it's not completely finished, but you actually, and now here's the logic behind it. One, we, you know, our success could bankrupt us. So if we just gave the app away, we'd die. We couldn't do that. There's a cost for every, you know, one on it. So we've created at a minimum, and that was $20 for everyone to get the app. So I invite you to literally purchase the app today and play with it for $20. The other reason why we're doing it is one of the reasons why the ooze crashed and burned about 7 years into the game is, one, I don't believe things are built to last. I think things are built to die. And so let them die, you know what I mean? And let the compost create something else. But the reason, in reflection, one of the reasons why it died is because of flamers and trolls. And so what we're trying to do is create a private, you know, the bar is pretty low with, you know, $20. But what happens is it becomes a private community for us to talk about this theme. And if anybody starts to flame out, you know, or troll us, we'll give them their $20 back and ban them. You know what I mean? No big deal. It's our community. And so the $20 is really a barrier to play for a private community in that way. All right. So Shana, help me out
so I
here.
just think that we'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and questions, especially, obviously, we have not, our website, we're just barely got anything in there. Even in the app, we've just got a few things in there. So the more you contribute or talk or do whatever, we will be developing things. Huva is rolling out new features all the time. But of course, we don't have any keynotes yet. We have no keynotes. We have an agenda, like how it's going to go, but we need to fill those spots in. So we want to know what the hot topics are. Where are the voices from the fringe? I love hearing about the psychedelics from and I love the idea of the autism and the different gender issues. Like all these things is what we want to hear from you. What's hot? Who should we get to speak? So
and again, you
open
can
for
put it
Q&A.
in. Yeah, we can also put that in the chat, and you can also email me. It's spencer@spencerburke.com. So any thoughts on the explainer video, the program, the formatting? What are things that we're missing before we go live? Yep. Well, you got to unmute there.
I was trying the little like spacebar thing, but it was not working. So just actually, it's probably a good for the FAQ section for some clarification, so to say, in there, and that's that just the villages, hosting villages is not something that happens just around the live event, like at the time of the live event. It's something that goes on and on and on. Like it starts, so to say, now, if I'm understanding correctly, just in a little bit in the explanation, I wanted a little clarity on that. So like that would be ideal to make sure it's super clear in the way you present that, because I like to do both. I want to attend the live, but I also will be hosting a village, and I'll be pitching things, and I mean, like all that stuff, and I will throw at you some keynotes and other thoughts in that sense. That was one question, and I don't remember my other one, but I will bring it up later. Either way, I am excited. This is awesome.
That's so great, Becky. You know what? Here's the beauty. We were always kind of thinking it around the 3-day event, but there's no reason why you couldn't do as many meetings up to it and whatever, and come on out live and let them do the stream, you know, of the other event. You know what I mean? So
well,
no,
I was going to say that's a great way to increase. I want to say participation, relationships, attendance. But the other thing, and I've noticed that the bulk of everybody on here are from the coast, which, except for a few of us, are in the middle of the country. But it's important to note that we are not flyover country whatsoever. And I will tell you guys that make sure you're careful about referencing that, because I've attended events in California where they reference the middle of the country as flyover. And I'm like, it's worth stopping. But with that, though, we're dealing with issues. And that's where a lot of the cultural centers on the coast have dealt with and processed through and are in a much healthier place when it comes to the inclusive issues. We are in the throes of turmoil over that right now, where those of us that are the innovative thinkers are at the place where, say, that, you know, we're 20 years ahead of them, but there are a huge number of us in the middle of the country that are feeling lost and, you know, disconnected. And so this idea of doing villages and connecting like that, and helping us really begin to say, well, what does the church look like? Because I'm literally realizing that I mean, my denomination, I left because it just wasn't working for me anymore out here. It would in California. So Paula, I wish we're in a Western jurisdiction, but yet I feel very called to Tulsa, and it's a problem.
I love that.
Because I'm like, I can't be in a Western jurisdiction. I'm like, dang it, I would love to be out there. But with that, what I'm saying is that we need this. We need this place, and I'm ready to jump on it. And we need that space to say, what are we going to do now? And that's what this will provide us.
I love that, Becky. Thank you. Leighton's got his hand up, and anybody else either unmute or put your hand up, but go ahead, Leighton.
So all these people are doing pitches, and, you know, you talk about Shark Tank, and obviously Shark Tank is you're pitching people with money to invest in something. What are the people pitching for in this? Are they pitching for follow my blog or tweets or podcast or YouTube channel or invest in my ministry or come cross country and join me or all of the above and more?
I love those ideas. I should have been writing them down, but here's what I would say, especially in the pitch area. For instance, the people who are kind of being the judges with it, there's a people's choice, which everybody is going to be voting on. So everybody gets to vote on all these, and we'll do a people's choice. But there's also in the pitch area, there are professionals that are helping people create their pitches and work together and develop that. So like with Alon out of Manhattan, he runs the incubator, the Glean Incubator, right? So he's giving away 2 scholarships that are equal to like $2,500 each to go back to Columbia Business School and do a degree or a certification. And it's over a 12-week process on spiritual entrepreneurism. And so that's one of the awards that would be done because he's bringing that, right? So Danielle is very interested in interfaith work. So she might be putting up some prize money for the best interfaith, deal. So I think what's going to happen is there'll be some other judges that'll come along and say, hey, I'm looking for this kind of project. We run a huge fund and we want to, this is a great vehicle. Let's jump on, but I also hope that there are a number of people that'll just jump on and go, I love that idea. We're going to go start an Indiegogo, GoFundMe thing for you, and as people request what they need, they may find something far more than money. They'll find community and support, and, like, I don't know what part, but we are looking at early stage, we're not just looking for blogs. We're looking for people that can create impact, really make some impact on the game. But
Like,
I'm
thinking
sure that,
an
go ahead.
example, Laundry Love. I think Greg is on here, is one of the founders of Laundry Love. And I ran one here in Ventura for a long time, but had we not started it, that would be a perfect pitch. Like, Laundry Love, it's an idea. Let's refine it and get some funding going so we could start it.
Yeah. Next question. Let's see. Who do we have here? Anybody else with a question? I'm not looking at the chat. So Shayna, if you see something in the chat also.
Okay.
There's chat.
Hey, Melon, do you have any ideas or questions from what you've seen? You're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah. In getting this spiritual makerspace going, it's been very, very exciting, and I've been very blessed in that the congregation that I work with, they're open to new stuff. They're like, I don't know, but let's try it. And, they're trusting that the Spirit is moving in this way, and it's just so liberating. That there's so younger folks have so. I mean, God is working through all of these new voices, and it's unfortunate that the churches are just left in the dust. They don't have to be, and so that's my hope, is that the churches that are willing to look ahead can some of the churches, they've got buildings, they've got endowments, whatever, and and rather than just have their buildings rot, how can we become vehicles for love and light in this time? And how can we not be so attached to the rigid forms? So I'm really excited to hear what you all are doing, and I think it'll fly. I think you're onto something really important here, and that it's needed. It's needed. God is trying to talk to humanity, and if the ears are closed, because we're too busy with our old stale ways of doing things, we'll miss the boat. And so I think this is really exciting what you're up to. I'm very proud of what you're doing. Yeah.
That is great. Hey, real quick in the chat, as you guys are just thinking, maybe before you go, if you could kind of answer one question. It's almost like, what's the pain point? Like, why would somebody need Soularize now? Or what motivates you? Or what, if there was one thing that we said today that excites you? It's almost like I'm looking for one line from everybody, if you might, on the idea of, why Soularize? You know what I mean? Like, because we're going to have to try to send out some emails and everything else. So what is it you look forward to it? Or what excites you about this idea? Or what's the pain point that this might answer, an obstacle that you have? You pop that in the chat, or if you want to talk it out, that'd be great too.
Awesome. Hey, Eugene, you're new. So you're new to the whole conversation here. What are your thoughts?
Thanks for asking. I really like it so far. I love the idea of a kind of curated conversation that's kind of designed for, it sounds like it's just designed for a purposeful collaboration. I really get excited about that idea of just meeting and networking with people.
Mhm.
I did have a thought and I'm not sure how to phrase this as a question necessarily, but it's maybe just kind of like a reaction. As I think about the villages, I love the idea. I think I'm still kind of, because it's so open, I find myself having difficulty sort of like wrapping my head around it a little bit. I love the way that you're trying to be very open-handed and allow people to design it themselves. At the same time, sometimes not everybody wants to think so hard, and you just want to be given like a few, like three options or something like that. Um, and so I'm curious. It sounds like it's sort of a creative process. Like, what are the ways to make villages a little bit more, I don't know, easy on ramp, clear for people who want to begin one?
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. We have been spending the last couple months writing and rewriting. It is a very open system. And so it's kind of like, we're not sure how it's going to evolve, but thank you for your feedback. Spencer, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, Eugene and I had a great conversation the other day, and I think, you know, I want to give everybody options, and so what happens is that people look at it and they get overwhelmed. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to find ways to say very simply, like, hey, you know what? Host, pitch, and vote. You know what I mean? Like, how do I say that? Uh, but uh, uh, but I've got to. Somebody else looked at the app with me and they're like, whoa, where do I start? You know what I mean? Like, and so that's going to be part of our issue. What we do know statistically through Hoover is that the message board, the community board, really takes off. And that's where people start to kind of almost share with each other. How are you using this? How does it work? What's best? Best known ways. Plus, Hoover has amazing tech support. We don't even have to do the tech support part. They answer questions, everything else. So I like what Eugene's saying about clarifying the villages. But and then the other side is I love where Becky went, was like, well, can I do it all year long? You're like, what the heck? I love that. You know what I mean? Like, it's just different. I do think in our conversation, Eugene, I don't think I'm saying anything out of school, but there is this sense of most of the spiritual entrepreneurs that could host a village also want to be at the event, so it's like, how are we going to do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's something that we have to think about. So
Okay,
yeah,
guys, we're at 11 o'clock. So thank you everyone so much for joining. Really appreciate it. And please email Spencer or I with your ideas. I think the best advice for me as a person that is technology oriented, the app was a little overwhelming at first, but if you get in there and you play with it, it's kind of like stepping into the mystery. It will unveil itself as it needs to.
absolutely. Well, and I hope it's not too much of an ask to invite you guys to go over to solarize.live and literally purchase the app. You know what I mean? I'll give a free refund to anybody who just, it screws up or it doesn't work for you, whatever, we'll refund anybody. But I'd love to get, you guys on, mostly because you hold the ethos. You know what I mean? Like as people come in, if somebody frames the conversation in the message boards a certain way, that's how we'll start. And I think it's who you are that will help us start the conversation in a more positive, powerful way. So again, if you would do that even today, that would be great. And email us, let us know. And if it doesn't work for you, again, I'll refund whatever. So it has been a blast to see all of you. It is just great. Let everybody else know too. If we're not gonna launch Soularize.live, or it's also spencerburke.com/Soularize if you have any problems with that. We're not launching that till June 1st, but for you can let other people know. It'll be there. The explainer video will be on there. This video will be on there. And then also the ability to go and purchase the app will be there.
Right, because like not
and
everything's done. Not every, like we still are adding copy. We need copywriters. We need we need people to help. So we've written as much as we can. So there's some stuff. That's why this is soft. It's not finished. So innovators don't mind that, but some other people may.
So yeah, where will it all be? Oh, that's right. Keith, I should have thought of you. Let's talk.
Oh,
Yes,
yay,
yes.
Keith.
Yeah, yeah, spencerburke.com/solarize. That's it. Or solarize.live. Oh, here's one other thing as a heads up. Believe it or not, years ago, we did Solarize and Richard Rohr spoke for us a number of times. Well, when we were in the Bahamas, Richard got caught in he came out to do two events, a men's retreat that he had always kind of led for the men there in the Bahamas, and our event. He got caught in a hurricane, the whole deal. It was craziness, But what happened is after that event, I think I've got to call into him to clarify it, but they started a men's retreat group called Soularize, spelled exactly like ours. And if you want to know, this is the craziness. They literally are doing a men's retreat event on the exact same weekend we are, with the same exact name. Now, I'm not too worried about it. What I want to do is make sure that if people are looking for them and they come to our site, I can direct them over there so they don't get pissed at me. You know what I mean? Like I don't care, there's two events. Okay. Bye-bye, Chuck. But then the other is to make sure. Oh, go ahead.
That's why I'm here is I wasn't sure what I was coming for. I'm with Illumin, which came out of Rohr's work. And so, yeah,
we have to talk to you.
We have an annual conference that we call Soularize. It's every October.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so
I'm wondering,
I didn't know what I was coming for today.
Oh, thank you so much. Are you part? And again, are you part of the organizing team for it, or can I talk to you?
Not the event itself. I coordinate Ohio for Illumin.
Okay. All right. Would you give me your email or your phone number or call me. I'd love to touch base with you through email, because I called Michael yesterday over at the Center for Action and Contemplation.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they have a lot to do with it.
No, not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's basically, I just want to make sure that people know which event they're going to be going to, so I'd love to clarify that more. But if we know about that, there's a heads up on that. I'm sure it'll create chaos, and, sometimes in the chaos comes craziness and fun, and that could be great. We just want to make sure people go to the right one. So Chuck, thank you so much. And please, let's coordinate together. I've actually called the number on the website the last month. I've called a number of times and left my information there. So, all right.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. Oh, Chuck, thank you. They're perfect.
Thank you,
and blessings to all of you.
Thank you, everybody.
This has been so much fun. Thank you.
Bye. Blessings.